The message arrived on a Tuesday, interrupting a mundane United Nations Security Council meeting on climate change. Screens around the world flickered, displaying an enigmatic symbol, a spiraling galaxy cradled within a six-pointed star. For a moment, the world held its breath, wondering if this was an elaborate hoax or the beginning of an alien invasion. It was neither. The voice that followed was melodious, almost soothing, as it introduced itself as the emissary of the Galactic Confederation. "People of Earth," it said, "your presence has been requested at the Grand Assembly. The Confederation extends an invitation for your world to join our cosmic community." In the days that followed, chaos and excitement gripped the planet. Religious leaders proclaimed the end times, while scientists worked tirelessly to verify the authenticity of the message. Governments scrambled to form a unified response, their usual squabbles temporarily set aside in the face of this unprecedented event. Dr. Amelia Chen, a renowned astrophysicist, found herself thrust into the spotlight as one of the few humans capable of decoding the complex mathematical language embedded within the alien transmission. "It's not just an invitation," she explained to a panel of world leaders, her eyes bright with excitement. "It's a blueprint for faster-than-light travel. They're giving us the means to reach them." But with the excitement came suspicion. Admiral James Holbrook, a veteran of 3 wars, voiced the concerns of many. "Why now? We've been broadcasting our presence for decades. What's changed that suddenly makes us worthy of their attention?" Debates raged in parliaments and on social media platforms. Some saw the invitation as humanity's ticket to the stars, a chance to leap forward technologically and solve Earth's mounting problems. Others feared subjugation, pointing to humanity's own history of colonization as a cautionary tale. In a small village in Kenya, Esther Mutua watched the news with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Her grandson, Keanu, a brilliant young engineer, might now have the chance to work on technologies beyond their wildest dreams. But at what cost? As the day of decision approached, world leaders gathered in New York for an emergency session of the UN General Assembly. The chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from every nation prepared to cast their vote. Secretary General Yura Nasser took the podium, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We stand at a crossroads," she began. "For millennia, we have looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now, we face a choice that will define our species for generations to come." The vote was close, but in the end, curiosity and hope outweighed fear. Earth would accept the invitation. As the decision was announced, a cheer went up from the crowds gathered outside. In labs and universities around the world, scientists and engineers began the monumental task of constructing humanity's first faster-than-light vessel using the provided blueprints. Amelia Chen stood at the window of her lab, watching the sun set on what felt like the last day of an era. Tomorrow, they would begin building the ship that would carry Earth's representatives to the stars. She couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was stepping onto a cosmic chessboard, one where the rules were yet unknown. As night fell, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if welcoming humanity to a larger universe. The summons had been answered. Now, the real journey was about to begin. The Starship Odyssey emerged from its final jump, the swirling blues and greens of hyperspace giving way to a breathtaking vista. Before them hung a massive space station, its gleaming spires and sweeping arches defying human architectural understanding. It rotated slowly against a backdrop of unfamiliar constellations, home to the seat of the Galactic Confederation. Captain Elena Rodriguez's voice was steady as she addressed her crew and the delegation of Earth's representatives. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Harmonex Station. We've made history today." Dr. Amelia Chen stood transfixed at the viewport, her mind racing to catalog the myriad ships of varying designs that swarmed around the station like bees around a hive. Each one represented a different alien civilization, a testament to the diversity of life in the universe. As the Odyssey docked, tension and excitement rippled through the human contingent. They had trained for months, learning protocols and practicing first contact scenarios. but nothing could truly prepare them for this moment. Ambassador Marcus Lee straightened his jacket, a garment specially designed to incorporate elements from cultures around the world. "Remember," he said to the delegation, "we're not just representing our individual nations now. We speak for all of Earth." The airlock cycled open with a hiss, revealing a reception committee of beings so varied in form and color that it took the humans a moment to process what they were seeing. Leading the group was a tall, willowy creature with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies within them. "Welcome, children of Earth," the being said, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "I am Xylix, High Counselor of the Confederation. We have long awaited this day." As the delegation moved through the station's corridors, they were assaulted by a cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells. Holographic displays flickered with information in 1,000 alien scripts. Creatures of all descriptions hurried past on incomprehensible errands. Admiral Holbrook, ever vigilant, couldn't help but notice the subtle security measures in place. Force fields shimmered almost imperceptibly at key junctions, and beings he assumed were guards watched their progress with unblinking eyes. Their first stop was the Hall of Cultures, a vast chamber where each member species of the Confederation showcased their history and achievements. As they toured the exhibits, the humans began to realize just how young and inexperienced they were on the galactic stage. "This artifact," Xylix explained, gesturing to what looked like a small black cube, "is a data storage device from the Zhor Empire. It contains the entire collected knowledge of their civilization over 1,000,000 years." Amelia's scientific curiosity got the better of her. "How much data can it hold?" she asked. Xylix's expression was unreadable. "More than all the data your species has ever produced, many times over." The tour continued, each revelation more staggering than the last. They saw technology that could terraform planets in days, energy sources that could power civilizations for millennia, and medical advances that had conquered death itself for some species. As they reached the final chamber, a sense of unease began to creep over the human delegation. The gap between their technology and that of the Confederation seemed insurmountable. What could Earth possibly offer to this advanced community of worlds? Xylix seemed to sense their discomfort. "Do not be discouraged," the High Counselor said. "Each species brings unique perspectives and talents to our collective. Your trial period begins tomorrow, where you will have the opportunity to demonstrate humanity's potential." As the humans were shown to their quarters, a mixture of emotions washed over them. Wonder at the marvels they had witnessed, pride at how far they had come, and a gnawing anxiety about the trials that lay ahead. Ambassador Lee gazed out at the star-studded expanse beyond his window. "We've taken our first steps into a larger world," he mused. "Now we have to prove we belong here." Little did they know the true nature of their invitation, and the challenges they would face, was far more complex than any of them could have imagined. The trial period began without ceremony. As the human delegation gathered in a featureless room aboard Harmonex Station, a holographic projection of Xylix appeared before them. "Esteemed representatives of Earth," the High Counselor's melodious voice echoed, "over the next solar cycle, you will face a series of challenges designed to assess your species' potential. These trials will test not only your technological prowess, but also your wisdom, creativity, and ethical foundations." Ambassador Lee stepped forward. "We're ready, High Counselor. Humanity has faced countless trials throughout our history. We won't shy away from these." Xylix's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with amusement. "We shall see." The first trial thrust the humans into a simulated environmental crisis on an alien world. They watched in horror as holographic oceans rose and storms ravaged continents, threatening to wipe out an entire civilization. Dr. Chen's mind raced as she analyzed the planet's complex weather patterns. "It's not unlike the climate issues we face on Earth," she muttered, "just accelerated and more extreme." For hours, the team worked feverishly, proposing solutions ranging from massive geoengineering projects to rapid evacuation plans. In the end, it was Esther Mutua's grandson, Keanu, who provided the breakthrough. "We're thinking too big," he said, eyes bright with inspiration. "Look at how this species has adapted to previous climate shifts in their history. We don't need to change the planet. We need to help them change themselves." The solution: a genetic modification that would allow the alien species to survive in their changing environment, was controversial but effective. As the simulation ended, the humans breathed a collective sigh of relief. But there was no time to rest. The next trial plunged them into a complex diplomatic negotiation between three warring alien factions. Ambassador Lee found himself navigating a minefield of ancient grievances and cultural taboos he barely understood. "We need to find common ground," he insisted as tensions in the simulated peace talks reached a boiling point. "What do all your peoples value above all else?" It was a grueling process, but slowly, painstakingly, Lee and his team managed to broker a fragile peace. As the simulation faded, even Admiral Holbrook looked impressed. The trials continued, each more challenging than the last. The humans faced moral dilemmas that made them question their deepest beliefs, technological puzzles that pushed their understanding of physics to its limits, and tests of their very conception of consciousness and reality. There were triumphs. Dr. Chen's team made a breakthrough in quantum computing that impressed even the most advanced Confederation scientists. And there were failures. A miscalculation in a simulated first contact scenario led to a devastating interstellar war. Through it all, the humans persevered, their determination never wavering. They learned to work seamlessly with alien technologies, to communicate with beings whose thoughts were utterly foreign to their own, and to see the universe from perspectives they had never imagined. As the final trial concluded, the human delegation gathered once more before the holographic form of Xylix. They were exhausted, their minds stretched to their limits, but there was a fire in their eyes that hadn't been there before. "You have surprised us, humans," Xylix said, its tone inscrutable. "You've shown remarkable adaptability and resilience. Your solutions, while sometimes unorthodox, demonstrate a creativity that is refreshing." Ambassador Lee stepped forward. "Thank you, High Counselor. What happens now?" Xylix's form shimmered. "Now we deliberate. The Confederation Council will review your performance and decide on Earth's petition for membership. But before that," the High Counselor paused, and for a moment, the humans thought they detected a note of concern in its voice. "There is something you must know, something that may change everything." As Xylix's hologram faded, the human delegation exchanged worried glances. They had passed their trials, but it seemed the real test was yet to come. Unbeknownst to them, forces were moving behind the scenes. The true nature of their invitation to join the Galactic Confederation, and the role they were meant to play in a cosmic drama centuries in the making, was about to be revealed. The celebration aboard the Odyssey was short-lived. As the human delegation toasted their success in the trials, a coded message from Earth cut through their jubilation like a knife. Ambassador Lee, Captain Rodriguez said, her face grim, "We've intercepted communications between Confederation members. Our cryptographers back home have broken part of the code. Sir, it's not good." Lee's expression hardened as he read the decrypted message. "Gather the core team," he ordered. "Now." In the ship's secure conference room, Lee addressed the group. Dr. Chen, Admiral Holbrook, Keanu Mutua, and a select few others. "What I'm about to share doesn't leave this room," Lee began, his voice low. "Earth's deep space monitoring stations have detected massive energy signatures approaching our solar system. Signatures that match Confederation technology." Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "An invasion force." Lee nodded grimly. "It appears so. But here's the kicker. These ships mobilized before we even received the invitation to join the Confederation." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Admiral Holbrook slammed his fist on the table. "I knew it. This whole thing was a setup. They're not inviting us to join. They're softening us up for conquest." "But why?" Keanu asked, His young face creased with concern. Why go through this elaborate charade? Dr. Chen's mind raced, connecting dots. Resources, she said suddenly. Earth's unique. We've got a biodiversity that's rare in the galaxy. And our cultural output, art, music, literature, it's unlike anything we've seen here. Lee nodded. There's more. The decoded messages mention something called the harvest. They're not just after our resources. They want us. Humans themselves are the prize. A heavy silence fell over the room. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Confederation, which had presented itself as a utopian alliance of advanced civilizations, was nothing more than a front for a cosmic slave trade. We need proof, Holbrook growled. Concrete evidence we can take to the other species. Surely not everyone in the Confederation is in on this. Lee agreed. We'll split into teams. Dr. Chen, I want you and Keanu to dig deeper into the Confederation's scientific databases. Look for anything related to human biology or Earth's ecosystems. Admiral, you and I will work on infiltrating their secure communications networks. As the teams dispersed, a new determination filled the air. They had come to Harmonex Station, filled with hope for a brighter future among the stars. Now, they were in a race against time to save their entire species. Over the next few days, the humans worked tirelessly, using every skill and trick they had learned during their trials. Dr. Chen and Keanu delved into the Confederation's vast data archives, uncovering disturbing research on human genetics and the unique properties of Earth's biosphere. Look at this, Keanu said, pointing to a complex diagram. They're not just studying us. They're looking for ways to optimize humans, to make us better slaves. Meanwhile, Lee and Holbrook made progress in cracking the Confederation's secure channels. What they found chilled them to the bone. Detailed invasion plans, lists of human specimens to be collected, strategies for quelling resistance. But as they dug deeper, they realized something else. Not all members of the Confederation were complicit. There were dissenters, species who opposed the harvest, but were too afraid to speak out against the powerful ruling faction. As the human team regrouped to share their findings, a new message arrived. This one from an unexpected source within the Confederation itself. We know what you've discovered. The message read, we've been waiting for a species like yours, one with the strength to stand against the harvesters. If you're willing to fight, you're not alone. The humans looked at each other, a mix of fear and resolve in their eyes. They had come to the stars seeking friendship and knowledge. Instead, they had stumbled upon a terrible truth and now faced a decision that would shape the fate of not just humanity, but countless other species across the galaxy. So Lee said, breaking the tense silence, do we run and warn Earth, or do we stay and fight? The choice they would make would set in motion events that would reshape the very foundation of galactic society. The decision was unanimous. They would stay and fight. With Earth's fate hanging in the balance, the human delegation knew they couldn't simply flee. Their only hope was to build a coalition strong enough to challenge the harvesters and expose the truth to the entire Confederation. Ambassador Lee took a deep breath, his fingers hovering over the communication panel. Let's hope our mysterious friend is as sincere as they claim, he muttered, then sent their response. We're in. Where do we meet? The answer came swiftly, directing them to a little-used maintenance sector deep within Harmonex Station. As the human team made their way through dimly lit corridors, Admiral Holbrook kept his hand close to his concealed sidearm, eyes darting at every shadow. They entered a vast, circular chamber filled with decommissioned machinery. As their eyes adjusted to the gloom, they realized they weren't alone. Figures emerged from hiding spots, some humanoid, others utterly alien in form. A tall insectoid being stepped forward, its compound eyes gleaming in the low light. I am Xara of the Volcrin, it chittered. We've been watching you, humans. Your performance in the trials was impressive. Lee nodded cautiously. You said you've been waiting for a species like ours. Why? Another alien, this one an amorphous blob of shimmering liquid, rippled forward. Because you're not afraid to question, to challenge, it burbled. Most species are so in awe of the Confederation that they never see its dark underbelly. Over the next few hours, the humans learned the true history of the Galactic Confederation. It had begun with noble intentions, an alliance of advanced civilizations sharing knowledge and resources. But over millennia, corruption had set in. A powerful faction, the Harvesters, had slowly taken control, twisting the Confederation's purpose to serve their own ends. They seek out young, vibrant species like yours, Xera explained, societies with unique biological or cultural traits. Then they invite them to join, only to exploit and enslave them. Dr. Chen's mind raced. The trials. They weren't just tests. They were assessing our potential as resources. The amorphous alien, who called itself Gloop, rippled in agreement. Precisely. Your adaptability, your creativity. These make you valuable commodities in their eyes. Keanu, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. But why haven't you exposed them? Surely if the truth got out. We've tried, a new voice said. From the shadows emerged a being that looked surprisingly human, save for its blue skin and silver eyes. I'm Lyra, last survivor of the Ethery. My entire species was harvested centuries ago. We've attempted to reveal the truth, but the Harvesters control all official channels of communication. Anyone who speaks out simply disappears. The gravity of the situation settled heavily on the human delegation. They weren't just fighting for Earth now, but for countless other species who had suffered or would suffer at the hands of the Harvesters. So what's the plan? Admiral Holbrook asked, ever the strategist. Sarah's antennae twitched. We've been gathering evidence for years, but we need a way to broadcast it to every corner of Confederation space simultaneously. And we need a species with the diplomatic skills to unite the non-aligned worlds against the Harvesters. All eyes turned to the humans. Ambassador Lee straightened his shoulders. We managed to crack your secure communications in a matter of days, he said. Give us access to your evidence, and we'll find a way to spread the truth. Dr. Chen nodded eagerly. And if we combine our technology with yours, we might be able to create a transmission powerful enough to reach every Confederation world at once. For the first time, hope gleamed in the eyes of the gathered aliens. Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand on Lee's shoulder. Then let us begin. We have much work to do and little time. The harvest of Earth is scheduled to begin soon. As the unlikely alliance got to work, pooling their knowledge and resources, a sense of cautious optimism filled the air. They were few against many, fighting against an enemy with vast power and influence. But they had truth on their side, and the stubborn determination of a young species with everything to lose. The next few days would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of the entire galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Confederation. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from thousands of worlds filled the vast chamber, their murmurs creating a cacophony of alien languages. At the center, the Harvester leadership sat smugly, confident in their power and the success of their latest acquisition, Earth. High Counselor Zilix rose, its iridescent form shimmering as it prepared to announce humanity's inclusion into the Confederation. But before it could speak, the chamber's massive doors burst open. Ambassador Lee strode in, flanked by Dr. Chen, Admiral Holbrook, and their alien allies. Behind them, a phalanx of holographic projectors floated, ready to broadcast their message. Esteemed members of the Confederation, Lee's voice boomed, amplified by technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. We come before you today, not as supplicants, but as accusers. Zilix's eyes narrowed. This is most irregular, Ambassador. The humans have not been given leave to address the assembly. We're done asking for permission, Lee shot back. It's time for the truth to be heard. With a nod from Lee, Dr. Chen activated the projectors. Suddenly, The air above the assembly was filled with damning evidence, records of past harvests, genetic experiments on sentient beings, plans for the subjugation of Earth. For millennia, Lee continued, his voice steady despite the growing chaos in the chamber, the leadership of this confederation has perpetrated a grand deception. They've invited young species to join, only to enslave and exploit them. Today, we stand with the victims of the harvest, and we say, no more. The chamber erupted into pandemonium. Some representatives recoiled in horror at the revelations, while others, those complicit in the conspiracy, shouted denials and threats. Xylix, its composure cracking, tried to regain control. These are lies, fabrications by a primitive species too ignorant to understand. We understand perfectly, Admiral Holbrook interrupted, stepping forward. We understand that you saw us as cattle to be bred and used. But you underestimated us, just as you've underestimated every species you've victimized. As the evidence continued to play out above them, more voices joined the human coalition. Species that had long harbored suspicions now found the courage to speak out. Others, seeing the tide turning, scrambled to distance themselves from the harvesters. Exara of the Volcrin raised its voice above the tumult. I call for an immediate vote to disband the current leadership and form a transitional council. The motion was seconded by dozens of representatives, their voices joining in a chorus of dissent that had been silenced for too long. But the harvesters weren't going down without a fight. Xylix, its earlier facade of benevolence completely gone, snarled, "You fool! Do you think we'd let ourselves be undone so easily?" With a gesture, Xylix activated a hidden control panel. Suddenly, force fields sprang up around the chamber, trapping everyone inside. Holographic screens flickered to life, showing a massive harvester fleet approaching Earth. You may have exposed us, Xylix hissed, but it's too late. The harvest of Earth begins now. And once we have your world's resources, and your people, we'll rebuild. The Confederation will go on, with or without your cooperation. For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm the human delegation. But then, unexpectedly, Keanu stepped forward, his young face set with determination. "No," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "It won't." With lightning speed, Keanu's fingers flew over a device he kept hidden. Suddenly, the force fields flickered and died. The screens showing the harvester fleet dissolved into static. "What have you done?" Xylix demanded, its composure completely shattered. Keanu allowed himself a small smile. "While you were focused on the big picture, you missed the details. We didn't just crack your communications. We've been rewriting your base code. Your ships, your weapons, your entire infrastructure. It's all ours now." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The harvesters, for the first time in eons, found themselves powerless. Ambassador Lee stepped forward once more, his gaze sweeping the assembly. "The choice before us is clear. We can cling to the old ways of exploitation and fear, or we can forge a new path, one of true cooperation and mutual respect." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, Lee turned to face Xylix and the other harvester leaders. "Your reign is over. It's time for a new era in galactic history." The confrontation had reached its climax. The old order was crumbling, but what would rise in its place remained to be seen. The next few moments would determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the cosmos. In the days following the dramatic confrontation in the Grand Assembly Hall, the Galactic Confederation found itself in a state of unprecedented flux. The exposure of the Harvester's millennia-long deception had shattered the very foundations of interstellar society. As the dust settled, the monumental task of rebuilding began. Ambassador Lee stood at the viewport of the Odyssey, gazing out at the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. Dr. Chen approached, datapad in hand. "The last of the Harvester leadership has been apprehended," she reported. "Xylix and the others are in custody, awaiting trial." Lee nodded, his expression weary but determined. "And Earth?" "Safe," Chen confirmed with a smile. Keanu's hack worked perfectly. The Harvester fleet is under our control. They never even made it past Jupiter. The ambassador allowed himself a moment of relief before refocusing on the challenges ahead. What's the status of the Transitional Council? It's complicated, Chen admitted. Centuries of mistrust don't disappear overnight, but we're making progress. Indeed, across Harmonex Station and beyond, representatives from hundreds of worlds were engaged in intense negotiations. Species that had once been bitter enemies now found themselves working together, united by their shared experience of betrayal and their hope for a better future. In a repurposed conference room, Admiral Holbrook led a team tasked with dismantling the Harvester's military infrastructure. "We need to ensure nothing like this can ever happen again," he insisted, his tactical mind already formulating safeguards and checks on power. Meanwhile, Keanu had become something of a celebrity among the Confederation's scientific community. His innovative approach to cybersecurity had not only saved Earth, but had opened up new avenues of technological cooperation between species. "It's not about having the most advanced tech," he explained to a group of alien scientists, his eyes shining with excitement. "It's about using what you have in creative ways. That's something humans excel at." As the weeks passed, a new structure began to emerge from the chaos. The old hierarchical model of the Confederation was discarded in favor of a more equitable system. Each member species, regardless of their technological advancement, would have an equal voice in galactic affairs. Sarah, now a key figure in the transitional government, summed it up best. "We must build a society that values diversity not just in form, but in thought and approach. Our differences are our strength." The changes weren't without growing pains. Some species, accustomed to the old power structures, resisted the new order. Others, long oppressed, called for harsh punishments against their former tormentors. It fell to the human delegation, along with their allies, to navigate these turbulent waters. Ambassador Lee found himself working tirelessly, drawing on all his diplomatic skills to mediate disputes and forge compromises. "We have a unique perspective," he often reminded his alien counterparts. "We've seen the best and worst of what a civilization can be. We can learn from history, both yours and ours, to build something better." As the new Galactic Charter took shape, it became clear that humanity's role in the cosmos had fundamentally changed. No longer were they the newcomers, wide-eyed and naive. They had become integral to the new order, their adaptability and innovative spirit helping to bridge gaps between vastly different cultures. Dr. Chen, reviewing the final draft of the charter, couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. "We came here looking for our place among the stars," she mused. "Who would have thought we'd end up helping to reshape the entire galactic community?" On the day the new charter was ratified, representatives from every member species gathered once more in the Grand Assembly Hall. The atmosphere was markedly different from that fateful day of confrontation, where there had been tension and fear. Now there was hope and cautious optimism. As Ambassador Lee took the podium to deliver the opening address, he looked out at the sea of alien faces, some familiar, others still strange to human eyes. Each had a unique history, unique challenges, and unique contributions to make. "Today," he began, his voice carrying across the silent chamber, "we embark on a new journey together. We've seen the dangers of fear, isolation, and unchecked power. Now we choose a different path, one of mutual understanding, respect, and cooperation." He paused, allowing his words to resonate. "The road ahead will not be easy. We will face challenges we can't yet imagine. But if we stay true to the principles we've enshrined in this charter, if we remember that our diversity is our greatest strength, then I believe the future of our galactic community is bright indeed." As applause filled the chamber, Lee allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not as conquerors or subjects, but as architects of a new era. The cosmic mosaic was forever changed, and the next chapter in galactic history was about to begin.